Hello, 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 everyone. How are you? And hope you're having a fantastic, fantastic day. And may peace be upon you. And welcome, welcome, welcome to the show. It Takes Courage with me, your host, Dr. Izdihar Jamil. And today we are going to be talking about overcoming imposter syndrome when you're writing your book. And I have a special guest for you who happens to be a good friend of mine, Kate Fessler, who is an imposter syndrome certified coach. So let's welcome Kate to the stage. Okay, here we are. Hi, Kate. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Izdihar. It is a great pleasure to be here with you and your audience today. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. It sounds a little bit awkward because you're calling me Izdihar because you usually call me Is, but
I know, but I've heard not everyone can do that, so I didn't want to do it on, TV.
well, that is great. Okay, Kate, let's jump straight in and give our audience upfront value so that it can help them with their book writing journey.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Okay, let's go straight in. So, what is this imposter syndrome? Because whenever I talk to entrepreneurs, leaders, CEOs, they always bring this one up. I don't want to feel like an imposter when they're writing a book.
Mhm. Well, first, let me say what it is not. It is
Mhm.
not an officially diagnosable condition or disorder of any kind. The term imposter phenomenon was originally coined in 1978 by researchers Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes, and it describes the feeling or the belief shared by millions of men and women around the world that we are not as intelligent, capable, qualified, or talented as everyone thinks we are.
Well, that's a bummer. We're not as intelligent and capable that we think we are because sometimes we feel that we have we've done a lot of work, experiences and skill sets to be where we are.
Yeah, it's that everyone else thinks we are, but inside we feel like a fraud, like, oh, we fooled
Mm.
them. We have all these reasons why, like, well, my success wasn't really due to my competence or capability or talent. It's due to all these external factors like, oh, I was in the right place at the right time, or I had the right connections, or oh, it was just, lucky, or some other external reason that really has nothing to do with us.
Gotcha. So it's more of like an internal interpretation of what we have of ourselves or what we not have of ourselves, which
Yeah.
is so interesting because I hear a lot of authors saying that they're not ready yet to write the book because they're not there yet. So how does this imposter syndrome that is has never been diagnosed medically or scientifically, how does it affect your book writing journey for authors, leaders, entrepreneurs, or even men and women who wants to write their book?
Well, as you just said, people think, oh, I'm not ready yet. And they can feel that way for a number of reasons. They might feel like, well, they don't have enough information. They need to get another degree or another certification or read another book or do more research before they can put themselves out as an expert. Or they might be a what we call a soloist, that it has to be a completely original idea. Otherwise, they can't do it, because if someone else has written about this subject before, then they have to go back to the drawing board and come up with a different subject. There are
Yeah.
a
So
number of reasons why people will feel like, well, yeah, maybe not.
maybe not. So what does it do? It stops them from writing the book. 1 year on, 5 years on, 10 years on. So like you said, let's always there's another certification that they need to have. There's someone has written about communication or leadership. There's nothing else I can contribute to. That's kind of like them feeling that they are not off there yet, the imposter syndrome taking place.
Hmm.
Brilliant. Okay, let's dive in then. So, we now identify what imposter syndrome is. We know the impact that it can have to you as an author or an upcoming author, whether you're a leader, entrepreneur, business owner, CEO. Where do this imposter syndrome feeling come from?
They can come from a number of places. Sometimes it's early childhood messages or family expectations where the bar is set really high and you feel like you can never measure up, or you never got praise for, doing well in school or whatever. It can be situational. There are certain circumstances, like being a student or doing something new, which is probably where a lot of your authors are, where you can feel like, wow, I have no idea what I'm doing. Why am I even here? Right? Um, and it can come from some from other circumstances, like being in a field, like a creative field. So again, like writing a book is a creative endeavor, and creative fields have the largest real number of people who have admitted to imposter syndrome, like Maya Angelou and Meryl Streep and Angela Bassett. Like Tom Hanks has said he has imposter syndrome. So whenever you're in a field where you're visible and people are sort of paid to critique your work, it can lead to imposter feelings.
Wow, that is so interesting because it can lead to childhood, it can lead to creative side, it can lead to career, it can lead to it can be from someone who said something. Because I remember when I was writing my book Money Makers, um, I was like, why am I even writing this book? I'm not even making multi seven figures because that's my thought process. I need to be making a certain thing
Hmm.
before I even write a book called Money Makers. And it took a lot for me to say, you know what, what people need is the failures that you've gone through. Even though it's like, oh my God, my failures. What people need is real life situation. What people need is the struggle. What people need is the lesson. What people need to know, how do I get from nothing to making even a dollar? Because that's a 10x jump. So it
Hmm.
takes the shift of mindset of these feelings coming from that you have to be a certain level or you're good enough only when you X, Y, and Z. So that's great to know in giving awareness, Kate, on where this imposter syndrome comes from and see it. Is it really the truth, or is it really something that is an interpretation of something what is not? Like the
Hmm.
book The Gap and the Gain, like you being in the gap versus in the gain. So let's talk about then. Now we know where the feelings are coming up. Let's talk about the what you call as the 5 competency types of imposter syndrome that have been identified by the Imposter Syndrome Institute.
Yes. So there's the perfectionist, the expert, the natural genius, the soloist, and the superhuman.
I think I can relate to all 5, Kate. Like the soloist, the superhuman, the genius, the perfectionist. So let's talk about one that is, kind of like most common when you want to write a book, or the very least when you want to share a message out there.
So I would say that the expert is probably the most common, because most people, like you just were articulating, why am I even doing this? I'm not an expert in this subject. What do I have to add to this, right? I need to go do some more research or find out more information, or be do this thing before I can actually write about it.
Yeah, so like it's the I need X, Y, and Z more before I can start writing a few sentences. As does that kind of hooks them up in a vicious cycle, doesn't it, Kate? Because they keep on, oh, I need to have this, I need to have that, I need to have another degree, I need to have another title, I need to do 2 years of research, I need to make a certain amount of money, I need to have a number of clients, I need to be in business 20 years, those kind of things. The expert, how 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 do you be the expert when you're like kind of in that loop? That's the interesting thing.
Yeah, well, you really have to reframe the way you think about it, because trying to be the expert, like in that context, is like trying to get to the end of the internet, right? Like it's never going to happen. There's always going to be something new coming out, something new that you need to learn, something new that someone else is writing a book about. So you need to reframe it um, in terms of what you know is a lot, and there's
Mhm.
always something more to learn, but what you have right now you can contribute to other people who are also trying to learn, and then you go learn more. But you don't wait until you know everything, because you'll never know everything.
Yeah. And then if you wait till you know everything, then that would be the point when it's gonna be too much to download or
Right.
too much to tell people, and people just can't take it. So even if you take one snapshot or like one perspective of a failure, uh, then that in itself is valuable, because not only you can go deep, but you make things simple so that other people can grab it. Like for example, like, oh, I did a program, Kate, that I took months to write, months to perfect, down to the last word. I thought it's the best thing that people would want, and this is what I shared on Moneymakers. So when I offered the course, I got excited, the promotion, marketing, posting, and everything. And then when it come to the date, guess how many conversion I made? Zero. Zero
Mm.
conversion, right? And I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna tell that story because it's such so bad. But I did, because I learned so much. From 0 to 1 is huge. 1 to 2 is huge. But after two conversions, it's a lot simpler and a lot quicker. So even just sharing that part in itself, even though it's very vulnerable, very embarrassing, but I feel that it created a lot of trust, knowing that how many times I got rejected and nothing worked, versus ta-da, here I am making X amount of money.
Yeah, well, it is really, oftentimes the reframing is about our response to failure and setbacks.
Hmm.
And if you struggle with imposter feelings, oftentimes a failure like that, or what you perceive as a failure, can lead you to stop.
Hmm.
And that's not what we want people to do. We want people to do like you did and learn from it, and realize that failure is information. And you just need to take that information and move forward and do something differently next time.
Brilliant. Okay, Kate, let's wrap up our session today. So, when this feeling of imposter syndrome comes up, whether you classify yourself as the perfectionist, the expert, and all those things, what can you do to either take a pause, or what can you do to break through those cycles?
So the first step is to normalize it, to realize you're in good company. There are people all over the world who are feeling the same feelings. So it's not you. So contextualize more, right? The context of where I am and what I'm doing is probably what's bringing this up. It's not personal. It's not about me, right? And then reframe your thoughts around it, like we were talking about. Like if you're a perfectionist, realize that nothing can ever be perfect. And the phrase "done is better than perfect" was invented for the perfectionist, because you can always change something, right, as you go along. And there's always something more that you want to add. And at some point, you just have to say, it's good enough.
Yeah, and some point that have to say is just good enough. And like earlier today, Kate, I was helping one of my authors in my author accelerator program, and she says, "To what point do I stop writing this chapter?" And I was like, to what point? Like, because you could go on and on and on and write the same chapter for years, for
Mm-hmm.
years. It's not going to serve you. It's not going to serve the people who needs to hear your message. So we figure out a way. It's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. What we're doing is a rough version first. So we
Yes.
start with a story, and then we start with key lessons, and then we do this and this. So in less than an hour, she had written the entire chapter because we were there to prompt her and keep her going. Like, no, don't get looped into this making the story perfect or tweaking it because you're gonna get stuck. But it's exactly that, Kate. Like the perfectionist. At what point do I stop?
Right.
There isn't a point where you stop. You just you could go on and on the same chapter for years. So that
Mhm.
was really really helpful, Kate. So as a parting words and words of wisdom, what can you tell our listeners today about whether it's imposter syndrome and how it can kind of like benefit their book writing journey?
Well, what I will say is that the last step is to keep going regardless.
Mhm.
And the world needs what you have to say. So please don't keep it to yourself. Please work with Iz. She can help you bring it out. And you are not an imposter.
Mhm.
You are no imposter. You are a brilliant being who has a lot to share with the world, and we're all waiting to read about it.
I love that part. You are not an imposter. You are a brilliant being that has an important message to share. And I feel like the key thing is once you have the desire, just look for a container, a team that's going to help keep you moving forward. I mean, thank you, Kate, for the promotion earlier. I wasn't expecting it, but look for a container or and a team that can help you move forward, just like how we did today with one of our participants, because you are a brilliant being, just like Kate said. And if you keep on being the perfectionist or the expert, I need more, and more, you are doing a disservice to yourself and to the people who needs to hear your story. And sometimes that one person that needs to hear the story is yourself, because you need to be reminded of the message itself. So thank you
Yes.
so much, Kate, for your time and for giving us your point of view and your expertise and your thoughtful insight about overcoming imposter syndrome in your book writing journey. Okay, Kate, let's fill in the blank. As a final thing that we want to leave the audience with, it takes courage to.
To keep going regardless and overcome imposter syndrome so you can get your book done.
Brilliant. It takes courage to just keep on going. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to It Takes Courage show with me, your host, Dr. Izdihar Jamil, with a special guest today who happens to be a good friend of mine, Kate Fessler, who is the an imposter syndrome certified coach. So until the next episode, remember courage is when you keep on going and you keep on moving and being persistent and loyal to your dreams. Until the next episode, take care. May peace be upon you. All right, okay, let's say bye bye to everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.